Welcome everyone to Charts Focus One, where we teach you how to work hard and trade smart. All right, let's jump right into the markets. So SPY had a very good week. So as you guys can see on the weekly time frame, we've actually closed above the 10 SMA, which is my red line here. And we've attempted to close above this 10 SMA line multiple times and pretty early in this downtrend as well. But we failed to do so. So this is our first retest and reclaim of this 10 SMA, which is in the short term, a very, very good sign for the bulls. Now, we've also retested the psychological significant $400 level on SPY last week, and we had an immediate rejection, which isn't surprising. And I told you guys that I would be waiting for a pullback for the latter half of last week, and that's exactly what we got as we start to sell off on Friday after rejecting off of that 400 level. And plus, in addition to that, we have this 396 to 400 range, this 4-point range where we will be seeing a lot of fighting between the bulls and bears as they continue to try to decide whether or not we want to move lower from this 400 level or break out of this 400 level, since we did already break out of this micro wedge chart pattern to the upside. So if we do decide to continue to move to the upside, and especially if the all the economic data and all the catalysts that come out this week turn out to be positive, okay, we should be able to break out above the $400 resistance level and ultimately have a nice breakout out of this macro descending channel chart pattern, which is a bullish chart pattern. So if you're able to break out of this, okay, this will be a significant signal that a reversal is underway in the markets and we will have a new uptrend. Now, if you guys don't know which economic data and catalysts I'm talking about, what are you guys doing, right? You guys need to read the market summary first before coming to this TA video. All right, so make sure you guys take a look at that first. So pause this video if you're doing that right now and go back to the market summary. All right, so the levels to watch out for this specific week will be somewhere around 390. Why? Well, because this 390 level is where the daily 50 SMA is currently resting. And if we're to come back down and retest this daily 50 SMA, I expect a nice bounce. Why? Well, because we closed above the daily 50 SMA 3 times now, and we're basically above it, right? So if we do pull back, we will be retesting this daily 50 SMA and bounce on top of it. Now, the only thing that I'm worried about is the 10 and 21 SMAs, because if they start to lag and they don't try to attempt to cross above the 50 SMA, especially that 10 SMA, and instead they start curling to a straighter line instead of continuously curling upward, okay, that will be a problem, because that's a high probability for the 10 and 21 SMAs to start curling downward once more, especially if the price does not hold above the 50 SMA. Okay, so make sure you guys are watching that 390 level and obviously the 396 to 400 range. Now, if we do break below 390, okay, we do have an intraday level that we've respected in the past, this 387.50. So if we take a look at the 2-hour time frame, this 387.50 has been a level of support and a level of resistance. So if we're able to hold this level at least, I expect us to bounce once more. And on the 2-hour time frame here, it seems like the 50 SMA is coinciding with this 287.50 level as well. So let's see if we can either hold the highs of last week or pull back and bounce at the lows of last week. Okay, so our first name is General Mills, GIS. So this name, I wanted to have a nice short trade to the downside, right? So we want to short this name. And the reason for that is that if you take a look at the weekly time frame, right, this one has been a rager, right? We've been seeing a continuation of this uptrend. And as it continues to move to the upside, we started to make this ascending channel, which is inherently bearish. And whenever we retested this ascending resistance trend line, which is part of this ascending channel, we immediately rejected and had a very, very large move to the downside. So we had one right here, a second right here, and potentially we can hopefully catch the next third leg down. And whenever we did move down, we came right back down to the weekly 50 SMA along with the coinciding ascending support trend line. So what I want to see here is, with the economic data, the specific economic data that's coming out this week, I want General Mills to be affected by that, along with other catalysts from other countries. You guys should know what I'm talking about if you guys have read the market summary, and overall the newsletter as well. But General Mills here, I think, can provide a very, very good swing opportunity to the downside for the next few weeks. So if we're able to reject below 74, right? So if we retest 74 again tomorrow, or at least sometime this week, hopefully we can see a nice bear flag forming on the daily time frame and allow us to continue to move to the downside and retest our first support around 70.20. Okay, but ultimately the long-term goal for the swing trade will be at the retest of this ascending support trend line, or if you go back on the weekly time frame, okay, the weekly 50 SMA. And our second name is Abbott Laboratories, ABT, and we looked at this name in the past, but it failed to give us a nice entry to the long side. I believe it was back in early July or late June. So with ABT here, or I do believe it was early July, they had earnings, right? And earnings were all right. So they did beat, but I believe they had some problems with their COVID tests or something like that. I think they had like a recall or something like that, or something related to COVID. But with new coronavirus cases spiking, especially with the new variant, I believe it's the number 5 variant or something like that. I'm not too sure with the specifics since I'm not tracking too close with what type of variants are out there right now. But people will be looking to test more and more as more cases start to pop up, including monkeypox, right? So, maybe these companies might take advantage again of monkeypox and start producing tests specifically for monkeypox. So ABT is one of the leading companies that make these COVID tests and hope maybe in the future monkeypox tests. So we shall see. But overall, we've been moving to the upside, and we retested this descending level of resistance again for a third time on Friday. So we had a nice gap up and then a nice flush down as we came back down to this previous level of resistance of $110, which is the reason why we have a long-term entry over 110.10. Now, I'm glad that we actually held the 10 and 21 SMA on Friday, last Friday here, but we failed to hold above the daily 50 SMA. So if this buying momentum that we saw after earnings here, okay, so earnings was on this day, hopefully we can see another breakout out of 110 and ultimately a macro breakout above this macro descending channel. Okay, our second name here is Coupa Software, or Coop, and this is a laggard. All right, so this one didn't really participate too much from the reversal in the overall tech sector. And actually on Friday, it ended up a lot weaker compared to any other tech stocks that had a great run and great strength in the overall market reversal. So Coop is a great lagging stock that we could be looking at for a potential sympathy run up or run down, especially if all the big tech names decide to have very, very negative results for their earnings. So Cooper here is currently in a wedge bottoming chart pattern. If you take a look at the weekly time frame, right, we're in a very, very hard downtrend. We're back to, I believe, 2017 to 2018 levels. Okay, mostly 2018 levels, and add a little bit of 2019 levels actually here. But after this really, really big run to the downside, the all-time highs was at 377.04. So this may be a valuable price for Coupa. So hopefully tech earnings aren't too bad, and we can see a nice run up to the upside so that it can keep up and catch up to all the other tech names that have already run up to the upside. Okay, so our fourth name here is DocuSign or Docu. And this one is also kind of playing with Coupa here. And Docu has been lagging a lot. It makes sense because Docu has only been seeing great growth from COVID, right? But with the pandemic basically ending so far, well, it has ended. Docu has been seeing some, a lot of money outflow from institutions and investors. So I think Docu still sees a lot of selling pressure, every single day and every single week and every single month, as it's apparent that it can't reclaim the daily 50 SMA. So this incredible downtrend that's been on can continue, which is the reason why we can have potentially two entries here, one to the long side and one to the downside. But so far, this is a great ascending triangle base formation that we've seen, that we formed so far. And we've seen this across the board about 2 weeks ago with the overall markets and with individual names, which is what we played last 2 weeks. And hopefully, Docu being a laggard, hopefully it can break out to the upside since it is a inherently bullish chart pattern with an ascending triangle. So, the tech earnings this week is ultimately going to decide whether or not it will want to break to the upside or to the downside. So we should continue to monitor this laggard name. Okay, so with Docu, a simple break to the upside will be a reclaim of this daily 50 SMA. So a complete mean reversion, and a successful one at that, will provide that momentum to the upside so they can potentially hit $81 or at least $80 as a whole number. Okay, so our fifth name here is DoorDash or Dash. So DoorDash is also a laggard name, and guess what? It looks exactly like Docu, right? It has that same ascending triangle chart pattern for its base, and it still hasn't broken out, right? Although Dash looks a lot better, maybe a smidge better, but at least it has reclaimed all of its major SMAs, including the daily 50 SMA. Now, obviously, didn't reclaim the 200 SMA. That's a ways off because DoorDash has been on a steep decline as well with Docu. So DoorDash, it was also a name that really benefited from COVID. So, DoorDash here, it's really lagging, okay? But it does look a lot better because the fact that it is staying above 3 major SMAs here. So the only thing that we need to really look at for DoorDash here is that if it can hold above this ascending support trend line and not revisit it again, because that will make it a fourth retest, which ultimately means that this name is ready to break to the downside because more than 3 touches, then the price will most likely break that significant level. So let's hopefully not get that retest of this ascending support trend line. But if we do, we can short this. Let me add the R here. We can short this under 71.50, which is a little bit under 72, but 71.50 will give us that greater confirmation to the downside. Now, I want to take notice of this increasing volume as well when we move to the downside, because we ultimately erased most of the gains that we made last Friday's candlestick. Okay, so we may just get that short opportunity to the downside. Now, if you go on the weekly time frame though, okay, you can clearly tell that sellers really came in strong last week, right? Although we did reclaim the 10 SMA, okay, the 10 SMA has now stalled to a straight line. And this is exactly what I don't want to see, okay, on SPY, right, as I've explained. So, DoorDash is already experiencing that. So hopefully on the weekly time frame here, we can hold this 10 SMA. But if we don't, then we move right back to the downside and break below and then hit the weekly major level of support of around 60 to 61, which will be our potential profit targets. All right, so our sixth name is Shop, okay, or Shopify. And Shopify here, as you guys already know, amazing gains last week, right? Absolutely amazing gains. And we were seeing continuous call flow volume coming in as more and more buyers saw that Shop has had a stock split, right? So it allowed more liquidity in its name, right, for its volume as well. And the company, okay, maybe a bit valuable here with the share price right now currently. So hopefully Shopify doesn't really go down the toilet with its earnings, which is this week. And hopefully we can see a potential entry to the long side right before earnings for a pre-earnings run up. Now, we are seeing a very, very nice base here. Okay, very, very good base. And so far, we've been respecting a level of 30 for support and a major level of resistance around 41. So if you're able to respect these two levels, then we can expect to see for the long term a nice big base forming before breaking to the upside and reversing higher, since we've been also seeing a huge decline in share price for Shop because it was also a beneficiary from the COVID conditions of the market and economy. So if we go back in the daily time frame, all I want to see is another higher low. Okay, so we did make a lower low between Thursday and Friday's candlestick of last week, but disregarding Thursday's candlestick and Friday's candlestick, I just want to see a higher low. Okay, and ultimately, I want to see a nice big breakout above 41. Okay, our seventh name and our last name here is Intel. So Intel is kind of the similar thesis that I have with Shopify. And Intel does have earnings this week as well. And Intel broke the downside a little bit too strong, in my opinion, on Friday. But I do like the fact that we did hold the previous level of resistance of $39, which was our breakout price last week. And if Intel is able to hold this $39 level as new support, that will allow the 10 SMA to continuously rise up and curl upwards and ultimately cross above the daily 50 SMA as well. We did hold above it 2 times and close above it 2 times last week, but ultimately that failed as the overall markets pulled back with the semi sector and industry pulling back a little bit harder than I wanted it to pull back. So Intel here, I think with the $39 level, if we do decide to hold it, we can allow the 21 SMA to also catch up as the price bounces. And ultimately, we can see a nice flag forming as well, a little tiny micro flag at the bottom here of this downtrend, and ultimately break above $41. Okay, so that was it for our equity names. Let's take a look at our first cryptocurrency pick. So we haven't had a cryptocurrency pick in a long time, but finally we have one, and it's Ethereum. And you guys might be scratching your head, saying like, oh my God, Andrew really loves Ethereum. And there's a reason why. And make sure you guys read the reason why in the market summary. So like I said, if you're looking at this video first without reading the entire newsletter, especially the market summary and basically the entire newsletter and the cryptocurrency analysis, make sure you guys do that. All right, and always do that from this point forward if you guys haven't been doing that. Okay, but Ethereum here is very, very strong, and I love the fact that even with the market pullback last Friday, Ethereum did quite well, and it's still holding to these new highs and new lows after this initial reversal to the upside, after breaking this really well constructed base here between 995 and roughly 1,280. Okay, so as we continue to move sideways, I want to see a rapid breakout above at least above 1,600 and ultimately try to break above 1,700, because this level here, okay, this level right here, actually let's make it a different color. Okay, this was the initial level the line in the sand level, okay, where we saw that break to the downside, right? That immediate flush to the downside where we saw that kind of crypto scare with the overall markets. And that's the reason why we had a huge pop in volume during this downtrend. So far, with this big volume to the downside, we've been kind of pushing out the shorts that have been shorting ever since, or have been holding on to the shorts ever since we broke this line in the sand level of around 1,700. But if you guys want a more specific level, I will say around 1,710. Now, if we're able to break above 1,700, there's a great possibility that we can have another second leg higher. And I would expect the price to have another second leg higher, because that's usually how price trend works. And we've already had our initial first leg through this breakout. So Ethereum, if we're able to break above 1,600 today, this week, okay, I expect at least by next week to be above 1,700. Okay. All right, so that is it for this week. Okay, make sure you guys are setting up your alerts for all the entries that have been shown in this video and in this newsletter, in this week's newsletter. So hopefully you guys are prepared, well, ultra prepared, so that you guys are really bored when you're looking at the markets this week. And the reason why I want you guys to be bored this week is that, well, there's a lot of inputs that will be coming in, or a lot of inputs that will be coming to our brains specifically, so that I don't want you guys to be so bottled up with all these inputs in your head, because it's going to jog in your mind and ultimately make you make rash trade decisions. So make sure you guys are only focusing on the things that you guys want to trade out of the 7 names that we have for this week, and set up your alerts, right? And only focus on those names along with the overall market. All right, have a great rest of your night and good luck tomorrow. I'll see you guys all in another video.